Hey everybody, it's Sports Shop. Welcome back to Arm Up Daily. How y'all doing today? Guys, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me today. Got something on my heart I want to share with you today. Today, your scripture comes out of Proverbs 18:21 and Isaiah 41:13. Today, the Lord presses in my spirit. I want to share with you. It said, stop claiming things that you was never meant to have. You know, when we think about, what he's saying here, what he's impressing my spirit to share with you today, there's a lot of times we take claims to things, we take a hold of things that we are never supposed to lay our hands on, we are never supposed to touch. Even though it's in the world doesn't mean that, we should own it. There are things we should, take a hold of it. I think a while back that I did a message, a while back, it was called, You Can Look But Don't Touch. And the thing is, we see things that might seem appealing to us, but God's like, don't touch that, It's just like even when Eve was in the garden, it's said that, that the fruit looked enticing, but they knew they were not even supposed to touch the tree. They were never supposed to even eat of the tree, But you're thinking, well, Chop, what do you mean that we're taking hold of things, that we're taking claim to things that we're never supposed to have? It tells us plainly in Proverbs 18:21, it says, death and life is in the power of the tongue, and that who loves shall eat the fruit thereof. There's times that we let our mouth overrun our mind. We speak before we think. We say things and not realizing that we're taking hold of something that we're never supposed to take a hold of. It tells us that, that who the Son has set free is free indeed. Okay. But I see too many people in the world, they sit around and when they speak, they misspeak. You know what I mean? It's like, something as simple as saying, oh, my allergies are killing me. My allergies, I'm going to have these every single year. Well, once you proclaim that and you say my allergies or my anxiety, my worry, my hurt, my fear, you're taking hold of that. That's what it's plain telling us. Death and life is in the power of the tongue. Once you proclaim it, you're going to take a hold of it. And so you have to be careful what you say and what you do. There's so many people that I've run into that, and even myself, I've caught myself even doing it myself, guys, that, oh man, my shoulder's killing me, or oh, my back's killing me. This ain't ever going to get by. I'm never going to make it out of this financial crisis. I'm never going to. When you keep saying these things, you have to understand that, what you're fighting against, and these principalities and these things that this demonic forces that come up against us, So you have to be truly careful of the things that you say. If you're looking at a situation in your life, you need to speak life over that situation. You need to plead the blood of Christ over it, man. You need to speak Jesus over it. And the thing is, I've seen people that get bad doctor's reports, and they'll say, they get the bad doctor's report, and this is, well, you got cancer, or you only got 6 months to live, and, God has the final report. He has the final say. I'm not saying we don't need doctors and everything else in this world, guys. We truly do, because, doctors help people. They do. But see, they've been practicing for so many years. But if you truly know the great physician, then one that can heal you from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. If you truly know the great physician that can go inside and not just heal what ails you in body, but also heal you in spirit, because, there's underlying things, in your spirit that you face, like depression, anxiety, worry, all these things. You have people that, that have low self-esteem. These are things that cut to the core, suicidal depression and suicidal thoughts and stuff that run through your mind. These things, that you can only fight in battle through a spiritual warfare. God did not give us a spirit of fear. So many people, claim hold of fear, and they hang on to it because they're afraid. Oh, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid the economy's going to fall. I'm afraid that, I'm not going to have enough money to make it through this week. I'm afraid that, if I let my kids go do this, they're going to get hurt. I'm afraid that, they're speaking fear. When have you ever looked at your little kid, and they're sitting there playing, and you say, you look at them and say, you're going to fall off that thing, and then all of a sudden they fall and get hurt, and so I warned you, I told you about that. Well, what did you just speak? So I had to learn to even curve my tongue in what I say in these things, because I told my kids, I'm like, do not fall off of that. Lord, watch over, keep them, protect them off of that, and when you do these, and when you say these things, these lots of stuff that you can speak out of your mouth can come to pass. You have to be careful what you say, because that's why, and plainly tells us, says, and they that eat, that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. So if you're claiming so much and you're believing what's coming out of your mouth, because out of the abundance of the heart mouth speaks, and what you're claiming this, and when it comes past us to see, I told you something bad was going to happen. Well, if you expect it to happen and you don't expect God to move in your situation, I shut those kind of people out. And I shut them down. I'm like, listen, I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. There's something that's going on here now that we're doing a fundraiser, and we have spoken life over this fundraiser and stuff that we're doing for the Freedom for Our Crusade. And man, God has truly blessed us. Even though that we've run into some oppositions, even though that some people, have spoken, they're like, do you think you got enough time? Do you think you have enough? Listen, you don't know how God's moved in our lives. You don't know the connections that we made, that God has made in our lives. With these connections, these are godly connections, man. And God shows up and shows off because you understand God's timing is perfect. And when you understand that, not just for, something that happens with a church event or at the church, but this is for your every day in your life. If you truly believe that, God is going to move and intercede for whatever situation you're doing and what you're seeking Him for, your mouth determines your outcome. Because if you're sitting there constantly spewing negativity, then, the blessing's right there on the other side of the giant. Your blessing is right there. You know what I mean? And when you're sitting there and you're believing God for the situation, but you're speaking these things against the things that you're believing for, the blessing is going to take longer to get to you. You understand? You might not even make it. It might even just like you just get so distracted from it that you just give up and walk away. But see, if you're going to take a hold of something, if you're going to take a hold of anything, put your hand in God's hand. Why? Why would we want to put our hand in God's hand? Because there is where the blessing is. God's hand is where, He says that He will, in Isaiah 41:30, He says, for the Lord will hold your right hand. And if you put your hand in God's hand, there's where the blessings come. And there's where everything that you'll ever possibly need. He says, I'll fulfill all your needs according to my riches and glory. Come to me. What is your need that you're going to need? He says, when you are depressed, I'm your peace. If you need your love, He is love. If you need finances, He says that I own all the cattle on 1,000 hills. If you need the peace in your life, He is the Prince of Peace. If you need, the salvation in your life, He is your salvation. He is your way. He is your truth. He is your life. Anything. He is the Abba Father, and He is there fast to forgive and very readily to provide for you for whatever your need may be. You understand? And the blessings that you're seeking God for, is right there. If you just take a hold of His hand. But stop speaking the negativity and stop speaking these things out that is killing you every single day. If you keep on saying, I'm going to use this as an example. My ex-wife used to say all the time, she said, you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid. And, and it just come flowing out of her mouth. And when I let that sink into my ears, then it got into my spirit. Do you understand that I started having problems remembering things? That I started having issues, trying to stay focused and stuff, that I would get, twisted in my words. I started slipping, in myself. And the thing is, when you hear that long enough, you're going to start believing it. But when you start shutting that thing down and say, no, I am a sound mind because I have the mind of Christ. Because God didn't give me the spirit of fear, but a power of love and a sound mind. And it took me a while to get through it and push through it, and understand what I was looking at. But I didn't let it go from my ears and come out of my mouth. Because people will pour stuff into you. If you allow it to keep pouring into you, the negative stuff, and the negative stuff's going to get down in your heart, and the negative things will start coming out of your mouth. When you start spewing the negativity, then the enemy's won. Then he's sitting there trying to drag you down. There's where you need to speak life every single day. I don't care if you go outside and there's a tornado 50 miles away that you can see that's 15 miles wide. You go out and you look. Today is the day the Lord has made, and I'll be glad and I'll rejoice in it. And you speak to that storm and you tell it to shut down. Jesus gave us power and authority over the works of the enemy. And he says that we will tread on the serpents, the scorpions, and the snakes, that we have all the power that he's given us. Speak to the storm in your life. Shut it down. Because bring forth the sun, the S-O-N. Let the sun shine through you. And when you do this, man, it doesn't matter how bad the storm is in your life, because you're speaking life. You can be in a world of chaos. I had a very close, dear sister of mine tell me, she says, how do you handle, it's like, she said, I see chaos all around you a lot of the times. She said, but you stay so calm, when you're dealing with these things and you're focusing. I said, I said, it's sort of like this. I said, have you ever been, I said, where is the calmest point of a tornado? Where's the calmest point of a hurricane? And they're like, the eye of the storm. If you go to the eye of a storm, you could hear a pin drop. It is the calmest place. All the chaos that's going on around you, you stay centered in Christ. And no matter what this world and all the chaos that's going on around you, he'll help you poke through some things. He's going to make you through some things, guys. You just got to stay positive, speak the positive things, and pick and choose your battles. The things that you're going to fight, and the things that God says, okay, this is my battle, and you let God do his thing. Don't get it backwards. You know what I mean? Trust in him, lean on him, and say, you know what? No matter what happens, Lord, I've got my eyes focused on you. And it's a lot of times all you got to do is just speak the positive things to shut the storms down in your life, and not proclaim it and let it overtake you. Do not let the death speak from your lips. No matter what happens. I mean, I understand, we are flesh and we're imperfect, and sometimes we allow things to creep in. Loneliness and, and these things that just want to try to overtake you, and, in the darkness that tries to creep in around you. But if you don't let your light get so dim, I'm going to tell you right now, guys, you got to kindle that fire. You got to put some breath into that fire, guys, and speak life into it. So when you do these things and when you face these things, don't take claims of all this other stuff that God never intended you to have. He required you to have, for his intentions was for you to have love, peace, love, peace, joy, happiness, patience, all these things, all the fruits of the spirits. Take a hold of those things, man. Where there's nothing that's going to drag you away from God. Don't take a hold of the things of the world. Don't think that you're going to take a hold of a bottle and get to the bottom of the bottle and you're going to have peace in your life. It ain't going to happen. Don't take a hold of, I heard a pastor say the other day, or just a little while ago, I was watching videos. He says, don't take a hold of a tub of Ben & Jerry's ice cream and think you're going to find peace at the bottom of that carton of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. People eat out, they eat out of depression, they eat out of boredom, and the things that, you think that you're going to find happiness. These things are nothing more than just, flesh numbers that numbs you just enough to help you get through. But when you can have the peace of God and the Prince of Peace to live within you, to walk with you, hold your hand, nothing else will snatch you out of his mighty right hand, guys, because you've taken a hold of Him. You've taken a hold of your healer. You've taken a hold of your banner. You've taken a hold of your provider. You've taken a hold of Jesus Christ, guys. And the blood is shed for us that's covered you and your family, and you stand on His promises. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this today. I encourage you, please come out and join us. For the hot dog sale, we're doing a fundraiser for the Freedom Fire Crusade. Got to give my sister Audra a shout out. She is. We've been working this in this. Everything's coming together, guys. We've got to raise $2,500. To pay for the event site. So if y'all would like to donate, go check out Freedom Fire Ministries. All right, it's in. Go check out Freedom Fire Ministries. Look up Audra Brooks. You can make your donations there. If you can come out and help us, and buy some hot dogs from us, guys, we'd very much appreciate it. We're going to have a lot of big hitters, man. We're going to have some powerhouses there preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. This is going to be a life-changing event, guys. People getting saved, people getting healed, people being set free from drugs and alcohol. I truly stand and believe and move, and I speak life over it. Guys, I love y'all. I hope you have a blessed and wonderful day. If you'd like to give to our ministry, if you'd like to give to, the Brent Farrell Ministries, 814 Outreach, it's all in the description, guys. If you'd like to give, please give. If you'd like to give for the hot dog sale, if you'd like to give for this event, private message me. I'll hook you up, and I'll show you how you can do it. I love y'all. Have a blessed and wonderful day, and I'll talk to you in a bit.